How you doing, Mr. Stout? My name is Justin Robinson, and I'm applying for the position of market coordinator for Seattle Times.
Okay. So, Mr. Robinson, what methods have you used to market to a broader audience of people?
Well, before I applied for this job, I was an executive chef, and I had to appeal to a large audience. I was in charge of everything, including marketing, social media, so on and so forth. And I had to appeal to a large audience. We were a startup company, so we were very small at the time. And obviously getting into restaurants is probably one of the hardest things to do, to maintain a restaurant, especially over a period of a couple of years. So it was my job to reach out to those people, whether it be with food, or it be social media, or it be any type of marketing campaign, which brought them in.
Okay. So what steps do you take to conduct a marketing analysis?
So obviously, your audience. People say it all the time. Audience analysis is probably the most important thing. So you need to know exactly who's around you, what part of the community that you're in, basically just who you're appealing to in general. After you do decide what market you're going to get into, after that you really have to hit the ground running, and you really want to get out there and talk to the people, whether it's taking polls or if it's just random sampling. In general, you just want to know what your audience is, and you have to go out there and find them and see what their opinion is. I think as of late, Amazon really showed great mindfulness when they really started talking to their consumers, and they realized what they want, and obviously they excelled in their market because their market is customer service. And their marketing is obviously succeeding. So I take that same approach in very customer forward marketing. So I want to know everything about my customer, and they're my only importance. The product is very important, but the consumer is important first. What they want is the most important thing.
Right. So why is marketing significant to you?
I love marketing. I love the idea of how it drives business. Before the recession, I feel like marketing was definitely on the table, and it was something that was important. But you saw with the recession a large firing of marketing people right afterwards, because they needed the accountants, they needed the executives, but they let go of the marketing groups most of the time. And I feel like this was a very poor decision on most companies' behalves. I feel like marketing should be at the forefront, and it is now. It's becoming a much larger market, and I like that appeal of how now marketing directors are sitting on boards and really making the decisions that matter for the company. I believe that's truly important, because if you don't have marketing, then you don't have a consumer base, especially nowadays with how wide marketing can be with the advent of the internet and everything you can post on social media. Marketing is more important than ever to reach your audience and to potentially reach an audience of millions.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So what is your most meaningful achievement?
That's a great question. I think my most meaningful achievement is definitely currently right now in my moment of going back to school, getting my bachelor's. I already got my culinary school under my belt, but I decided to come back, and I have a daughter, and I'm currently working 2 jobs, both in sales, and just really grinding it out. But it's the passion for the education, the passion for a better tomorrow, passion for the future that's really driven me to this moment. And I really feel that right now is my greatest achievement thus far, and it's just perseverance.
Wonderful. So tell me a time where you applied marketing techniques in your own personal experiences.
I think everybody kind of personally markets, right? Nowadays, especially with social media. I currently am revamping all of my social media to kind of appeal to the audience that I want to attract, whether that be friends or professional life. I feel like we all personally market in one way or another, put out there who you are and what you are. I'd like to say you can't just break it down to a social media page, but unfortunately nowadays that's kind of how it is. So I feel that I'm constantly marketing myself with every new post, with every new photo, with my new website that I just put up. So I feel like I'm consistently and always marketing myself.
What is your favorite way of marketing to other people?
I'm a I think if I really to break it down, I think I'd be like a personal marketer. I like being there when somebody tries something and when somebody feels good about that product and when they really feel that they have gotten what they wanted in that product and taking it to people and showing it to them and having them actually use the product and enjoy it. I think that's probably one of my personal favorites.
What do you look for in a company before you work for them?
I think especially going after school, I really started looking into CSR a little more. Corporate social responsibility is something that's on the forefront of my mind. I really want to work for a company that's sustainable and has a solid future, but also cares more about everything except for the bottom line. I feel like nowadays corporations take up such a large portion of our current economic and social realm that they really need to also give back to the community, or at least have them on their forefront of their mind. Mm-hmm. So before I really apply to any company, I definitely look at their CSR, break down, outline, see what they have, because I really want to work for a socially responsible company.
So what are your favorite traits about yourself?
I think communication and perseverance would be my two favorite traits about myself. I'm extremely good at communicating. I always kind of had a knack for it. Definitely when I was cooking, obviously communicating orders. But as I grew older, I realized that my communication skills extended past that, and I was just really adept at talking to people and listening to people. And I think that listening is almost as important as talking. Anybody will tell you that, but definitely I've realized over time that communication is probably the most important tool that you can utilize in any situation. Perseverance goes in a kind of a slightly different direction, where I've always felt driven to continue to better myself, to continue to improve upon what I've done. And so I just persevere over and over again. It's probably one of my favorite traits. It keeps me going.
What make you a strong asset to a company?
I believe that my communication skills, but my positive attitude, I feel like, is probably one of my most important traits that I could bring to a company. I'm not about the negative. I understand that negative is important to grow as a person, as a company, but I really enjoy the power of positive thinking. And to throw back to an old book, but I think my positivity creates strong bonds with team members. I feel like it really creates a positive attitude to those around me. Positive attitudes can be really infectious, and in doing so, I feel that I would bring a really strong positive reflection to my team and to the company.
Okay. What are your experiences with management?
I've held a couple different management roles, mostly in the culinary field. I was an executive chef for like 6 years, on and off at different places. My most noticeable one was for about 3 years at this place called Vine Street in Shelter Island. It's where I held the position of executive chef for the longest. And I've delegated. I've had as many as 12 employees under me. I've delegated tasks. I've created spreadsheets, outlines, schedules. I've really done the entire management force.
Provide an example when you're able to prevent a problem because you foresaw the reaction of another person.
I feel like I have a story from my college days currently, where I was working in a team, and it was probably one of my very first classes that I took here. It was an organizational management class. And it was a group of 5 of us, and we were pretty proficient, efficient. It seemed like everything was going really well. And we were progressing through the course well. Except for about halfway into it, one of our group members became extremely distant and very introverted. She kind of pulled away from the group, and we were kind of all out of baffled why. But I noticed it a little bit before on text messaging and our collaborations on Google Docs. I could feel her pulling away, and I wasn't sure why. So I had actually contacted her prior to this whole situation forming. Personally, I contacted her and texted her and tried to get her to kind of talk about what was happening. And eventually she just let me know that she felt like she was being excluded from the group in making important decisions or just overall communication. She was one of the type of people where you have to directly talk to them. You can't ambiguously talk to them in a conversation with other people. She needed to be addressed directly. And fortunately enough, me and her had grown to have a personal relationship where we were friends, and I managed to nip that at the bud and bring the whole group back together before it really had a chance to fall apart.
Okay. Provide an example when your ethics were tested.
Personal ethics or professional? Oftentimes, when I was working on the sales floor, what I currently do now, there are opportunities in which you can probably bend the rules or shift them in your favor. And this happens all the time with increasing your sales by inputting different numbers, even if it's just a slight increase. And that opportunity is present at all times. And it's one of those ones where in the back of our heads, you always have to maintain that ethics code that, what would this be responsible? Would this be something that I would want anybody else to do at my expense? And so I feel like I'm constantly challenged by ethics, whether it be in my personal life or professional. I feel like it's something that I maintain at all times.
Okay. Give me an example of when you were persistent in the face of obstacles.
I think, as weird as it sounds to say, I think me having a daughter, I had a daughter at a very early age, 24. I think that's a big obstacle for a lot of people is having a child, and then having to provide for that child. And not that she's never an obstacle, I never call her that, but she definitely has provided me with opportunities to grow and persevere through hard times. And me being here now applying for this job shows that obstacles don't conquer you, you conquer them. And I think that I'm here now today because of that.
Very good. Share an experience in which your willingness to lead or offer an opinion helped your company.
I started out very quickly, especially in the culinary field, really just persevering. I wanted to be that top dog. I wanted to be that top chef, and I pushed through, and every time I would want to learn more. I would want to listen more. I would want to see new techniques. I would want to learn how to do those new techniques. I just continued to push and push and push to learn. To learn, I think, is probably another tool that is maybe sometimes underutilized by people. I think maybe some people fall and fall short and forget about educating themselves because they feel like they've achieved enough. And I feel like I never really had that feeling. I feel like I always pushed it further, wanted more, and I continue to this day to pursue that.
Okay. From your own personal experience, what makes a great team?
Team is all about dynamics. Not one person built the pyramids. It's something I always like to think about is that each person has their own specific traits. Each person is different. Each person is like a snowflake. But each person also brings strengths to a team and weaknesses. I think a solid team is a very diverse team that maybe has a unification of one trait in particular, or maybe one skill in particular, but with varying backgrounds. I think a team should never be the same person over and over again. I think the utilization of diversification in a team is probably most important and creates some of the best.
Is there any more questions you have for me?
What got you started in this company?
What got me started was pretty much I started out doing audits, And I love my job so much to where I wanted to grow with the company, so I was asking, looking for ways so I could move up. So I was trying to persevere into my occupation, so that led me to go back to school, get my CPA, just so I could keep pursuing my finance. So that CPA was able to get me to able to do tax recommendations for other people, and I was able to sign off on their tax stubs. So pretty much that led me to work here as executive for the company and to work for the internal affairs.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah. Well, it sounds like there's a lot of room for growth in this company.
Yep, there is.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.